Well, next up is Congressman Deal. Would you join me up here, please? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you the same set of questions. What would you do to improve the quality and affordability of child care, and how will you help parents to identify those high-quality providers?
Well, thank you for allowing me to be with you. Thanks for all of you in participating in this important program. First of all, I think in terms of assuring that there is quality daycare, I think the program that we have in the state of Georgia here, Quality Care for Children, is certainly one of those programs that is working successfully, and I'm proud that my oldest daughter is working with that organization right here in Atlanta. I think we do need to adopt a federal standard for certifying the quality of daycare centers. There is a 5-star federal program. Georgia has not implemented it. I think we certainly need to do that so that parents can have an objective idea as to how the daycare facility that they're choosing is actually going to be working. As far as incentivizing it, I think we have to look at every possibility that is open to us. I think we have to encourage private organizations to be people who will sponsor and be supporters of local daycare facilities. I think we should provide some incentive in that regard, whether it be tax credits or otherwise, to try to encourage them to participate. One of the great resources that we have in our state that we're failing to tap into is the fact that we're having people retire every year, and they are simply going to the golf courses and doing things to entertain themselves. One of my good friends says that when someone who is capable and knowledgeable simply just drops out of the picture, it's like having a library burn. Folks, we cannot afford to have libraries burn. My church, for example, is now incorporated an after-school program for tutorial services using those who are retired in our community. All of these are ways that we should be employing and should be encouraging, because we have great resources in our state if we will simply focus them in the direction, and certainly early childhood education and proper and qualified daycare facilities are an important part of that.
Thank you. So as was mentioned earlier, we have thousands upon thousands of children wanting to be in Georgia's pre-K. As governor, what will you do to ensure that Georgia fulfills its promise of universal voluntary pre-K to all Georgia families?
As we all know, the lottery proceeds have not necessarily dropped, but they have tended to level off in this economy. And as we have seen the tuition rates in our colleges and universities increasing, we have seen an ever-increasing portion of lottery proceeds go to pay for that increased tuition cost. But one of my good friends, who is our county school superintendent in my county, tells me, says, don't ever forget that equally, if not more important, as to what is happening in the use of lottery proceeds is the pre-K system. The universal pre-K is probably as important, if not more important in many ways, than keeping the scholarship program at the college level. As important as that is. Certainly at the college level, it has kept some of our brightest students from migrating to other states. And we've seen that in the past. We're now keeping them at home. But it is important that we try to stimulate the funding. Now, I'm not going to advocate that you all go out and buy more lottery tickets. But certainly the revenue source has to be looked at. We have a group within the General Assembly and the Lottery Commission itself that are examining options that may be available to increase the funding levels, and I will certainly always be open to do that, because the money is certainly being well spent, both on the front end and on the rear end in terms of college scholarships.
Congressman, you have 3 minutes to speak in general about education and early education as well.
Well, thank you. Some of you have heard me say that I'm the product of 2 public school teachers. What I haven't told you really is that my mother was a first-grade school teacher, and the only reason that they coached her into coming to teach was the fact that she was able to bring me along when I was 3 years old. And we didn't have a daycare facility, so I was sort of one of those tag-alongs in the first grade. It took me 3 years to get through the first grade, I suppose you would say. She was always one of those that believed that you had to establish the foundation early and establish it well. I, too, have a part of my education platform is that every child should be able to read at grade level by the time they're 8 years old. We are spending a lot of money in remediation if we do not do that. I believe that in money we're spending maybe in coaching those who are going to try to pass their graduation exams, those coaches and those resources probably would be better spent on the front end, because you wouldn't need as much coaching if you had done it at the very beginning, and it's certainly a lot less expensive to do that. Now, I believe there are a lot of things that we face challenges on. My education plan is comprehensive and touches on some of the issues that you've already heard talked about. Let me talk about one of them, and that is eliminating boredom, eliminating children who are simply just bored being in the classroom. In talking with educators, one of the things they suggest is we should adopt a move on when ready concept. Instead of making a child spend 150 seat hours waiting till the end of the year to take the CRCT, let's trust the educators to say, I've got a group of students that can take this test early in the year. If they can pass it, let them move on to keep them engaged in things that will stimulate their interest. Because not everybody who drops out of school are the low end. Many of them are there because they don't see relevancy. I'm told by the time they reach the ninth grade, 75% of our students are saying they don't consider their education to be relevant to their future. Now, there are a lot of things that we ought to be doing, but we have to engage this on a multiple front. We are approaching 40% of the children born in the state of Georgia being born out of wedlock. That means we're going to have even more single-family parents. We're going to have even more grandparents raising children, and they are going to need the assistance that early childhood education and pre-K services will provide. But you know what? If you give education systems flexibility, they will do great things. We've seen it in the IE Square approach that some systems have adopted, but we've really seen it in the charter school movement. I have one of my 6 grandchildren is in a publicly funded kindergarten. I have told people about what she takes as one of her electives. I was going around saying that she was taking cooking. She corrected me. She said, Papa, it is culinary arts. Now, children will become the enforcers of everything. They enforce our seatbelt laws. They enforce the texting when driving. And if we teach them the correct dietary programs and the importance of education in a lifelong setting, they will become the enforcers of these life-changing skills that we need to implant in our children, and they will implant it in our society as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.